I'm Glenn Woodfin. I'm sitting here with a friend I've known for, oh gosh, I know at least 15 years. I met him in Gainesville, Florida. He lived in South Florida on the Gulf Coast, and we were both in a big MLM group that was thriving through the early to mid-90s. And he started walking across stage with his wife, and the story behind him was that he had delivered 4,000 babies as a doctor. So that was quite impressive. So I actually kind of knew Don from afar. Then over the years somehow we just hooked up and stayed in touch mostly through the internet. And we're sitting here today, and I wanted to talk to him about some of that background, because actually I don't know a lot about being a baby doctor, but we were talking the other day and you were saying that you were on call for how many years? Like a pager, electronic leash.
Varying amounts of a week, a month, a year, depended a lot on whether I was working alone, in which case it was 24/7, 7 days a week, every day of the year, or whether I was with a group of people. And so it varied, but there was a lot of on-call time.
So you worked in what do you call that when you have several other doctors working in an office?
A group practice.
A group practice, and they were all also, I'm going to say baby doctors. What do you call a baby doctor? Pediatrician?
Obstetricians.
Obstetrician.
We all did the same thing.
And how many were there in that group?
Well, the group I was with, there were 4 of us at the time. And that was a nice number, because it would give you Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then that's 4 of us, and then somebody would be off for a weekend. So you'd actually get to see your family 3 days in a row, which was really nice. But it's a little hard to plan trips to visit relatives and so forth with 3 days. Other than that, you'd have to use your vacation time. So it really got to be a hassle trying to fit in family life with delivering babies, because when you're on, you need to be available, close to the hospital. Things happen.
I was curious how many years from your first baby to the last baby you delivered in order to get 4,000?
Well, I counted all the ones in training too, and there were a lot. But I was in practice from 1979, 78 actually, mid-78 through 1999.
So let's see how many years is that. By the way, 78 is when I graduated from high school. 78 to 99, so you got
About 20 years.
12 years. Really?
Yeah.
So, God, how many babies is that a year? That's
Well, don't forget there were lots in training, and I, count those as mine as well. So, I would deliver anywhere from, I would say 1 a day when I was on call to 5 a day. It just varied.
You have delivered 5 babies in
day.
1 day.
Well, the mothers did the work. I just did the catching.
5 babies in a day.
Sure, easily.
I personally never been a father, and I've really not been around any women giving birth. I've just seen the round tummies and occasionally feel them kick. That's about as close to it as I've come. Obviously, this is a big deal to people when they have a baby.
Certainly.
And is there any rough percentage of these babies that are being delivered that are in danger? Obviously, everything's dangerous, but is it a small percentage that's really under the gun there as far as, having a healthy baby?
Well, it's always a small percentage, but you treat every situation as a potential problem. And so the anxiety levels there, whether it's going extremely smoothly or whether it's being very rocky. And so the anxiety level is there. That's why I would say the incidence of heart disease and divorce and stress-related illness of all kinds, whether it be chemical dependence and depression, it's high amongst physicians, especially in this field. So it's a stressful environment, whether it's going smoothly or not, because you're always worried.
And what percentage of, just rough guess, have what they call, I watch movies and dramas about, doctors' offices and giving birth, complications. How many of the 4,000 do you think you would consider had complications?
A very low percentage, really.
Oh, thank God.
Okay. Very, very low percentage, but it's that fear of something going wrong that's pushed the cesarean rate up over 20% and closer to 30% in most areas of the country.
You're saying the rate of cesareans has increased, or you're saying that that's the percentage of births is now cesarean?
Both. The rates increased and the percentage of births delivered by cesarean has increased. And a lot of that doesn't have to do with anything other than fear, concern that, you know, if I don't get the baby out as fast as I can, as quickly as I can, and something goes wrong, something will go wrong with the attorneys and the legal system as well as the child. And so you just don't take any chances anymore. But it's the stress of all of that that, you know, made me interested in finding another vehicle for my efforts.
Were you going to retire anyway in the late 90s, or?
Yeah, I really was. I had some physical disabilities related to polio when I was younger that were starting to manifest itself, and I actually stopped obstetrical practice before I stopped practicing as a physician.
I was curious that the number 4,000, I mean, did you have kind of a goal to go over 4,000, or did you just happen to be over 4,000?
No, it just, that's
a nice round number.
It's a nice round number. It may be more, it may be a little less, but it's around 4.
Around 4,000. That is amazing. So you just brought up something I didn't even know we were going to talk about in this video, and you said you looked for other sources of income. How did that come about? What were your findings? And
well, I was very intrigued by the thought that I would rather have 1% of the efforts of 100 people rather than 100% of my own efforts, which is what I was finding in the later part of my career. I was doing all of the work. I had looked at duplicating myself with physician extenders, I guess is the cute term now, but nurse practitioners, nurse midwives, and advanced nurse practitioners. All of these things are ways of duplicating some of the things that you do that really don't require you to be there. And so we had a lot of physician extenders in our practice at the end, but that again caused its own stress, because not only do you have to worry about your performance, you have to worry about their performance, which creates another whole level of stress.
they actually come under your umbrella of your
Right.
medical malpractice, don't they?
Oh, sure.
And so that all goes through you, so you're the
Right.
the buck stops here kind of.
Yeah, and I have nothing but great things to say about the people that I worked with, because I had no malpractice suits with them in the practice.
Very nice.
I had a lot of jealousy suits from the other physicians who didn't have them, but other than the jealousy, I was able to partially duplicate myself pretty successfully. But again, there was still lots and lots of stress. And I was intrigued by the idea of other businesses that use that model of duplication, and I came around to be exposed to a business called network marketing.
How were you exposed? You weren't seeking it specifically.
No.
Were you actually kind of an entrepreneurial seeker at that point? Somebody approached
I had done all of the typical things that physicians do. I had lost money in the stock market. I had lost money in options and traditional stocks. I had lost some money in real estate, even in the area of Florida where we lived. It's possible to either lose money, especially now. I had successfully lost money in a lot of different things, and so I had tried a lot of different things, and I had a young man put a little cassette tape on my desk. His wife had been a patient, and he simply asked if I'd listen to it, and I did.
Now wait, one of your patients' husbands took the initiative to drop a cassette tape.
Yeah.
And
I
well,
listened
what
to
did you think when you saw it? Were you curious, or were you like, oh brother?
I was curious. I wanted to know what this was about. I had never heard about it. No one had ever approached me.
Do you think that people possibly were intimidated by your professional status?
Of course. Yeah.
I would think so too. Do you happen to remember the title on that cassette tape? Just kind of curious.
If I think of it, I'll tell you, but
Yeah,
I
if you
don't,
think
I
of it,
don't
just-
right now.
I'm just kind of curious because sometimes the title, you know,
Yeah,
says so
I don't
much.
remember it. I don't remember it.
just curious. A lot of those intro things I found to be somewhat hokey or stiff or stilted or whatever. Did they choose the right tape, or was it good enough to get you to listen to a second one?
I think I'm recalling the name of the tape. It was by a physician,
Oh, Dr. Jim Nealis?
the very same.
Ah!
May he rest in peace.
Yeah, but what a dynamite person. Yeah, I saw him speak publicly. This is going back 15, 20 years, but Dr. Jim Nealis was a neurologist and also just a guy with personality plus.
Yeah, a lot of personality
Yeah.
and a lot of credibility.
I remember when he talked about when he met Arlene, his wife at the time, when they first met. I think he was in college, and he approached her and she says, I've already got a date on that night. He goes, you need to cancel it because I'm dynamite. And I've actually used that a few times. I mean, that was a tip where I just, not only in relationships like dating, but also I've used that tip in business. You know, people go, oh, I'd love to, go to that event with you, but I've got blah, blah, blah to do. I've started saying, hey, can you cancel it?
Cancel it.
Yeah, cancel it. Take control. Another thing, I heard somebody on a tape one time saying, if you go into somebody's home and the dogs and cats and children and distractions, you go over and you turn off the TV and say, hey, this will just take a minute, And
I've done that.
I mean, well, when I heard it, I was like, that is not me. I'm a guest in the home. So anyway, that's interesting. Yeah, I admire Jim Nealis too. Well, that was a really good tape for you then.
It was a good tape for me.
Who,
Said all
do
the
I
things.
know? Do I know that person that dropped the tape at your office, perhaps?
No.
Okay, interesting. Well, you've never been the sales type, I'm guessing, since you were involved with,
No, the kind of business that I was in, there wasn't a lot of selling that had to be done. You were sought out rather than you seeking the business. And the reputation was word of mouth. The best kind of advertising, word of mouth. And so I was plenty busy.
Baby do.
Gotta go.
You want me to about investment possibility. I don't know exactly where we were, but somebody left a cassette tape. And
Correct.
it turned out to be a pretty good choice. So when we started this video, I didn't really know where we were going to go. One thing I wanted to do is go into your past because, I've never asked you these questions.
Okay.
And one of the best times I ever had with Don is we went to a really cool restaurant called Mezzaluna's in downtown Hendersonville, a little town up in the mountains, just really a great restaurant. And
We may go there again.
I want to go. Don't go there without me. But the reason I enjoyed the conversation so much is Don's got a very optimistic side, and he's got a lot of perseverance in spite of what negative comes his way and all the obstacles. He just keeps his course straight ahead. And he's never really let his hair down talking about some of the negatives in the world or in investing or home-based business or anything. And he kind of unloaded, and I found it really pretty interesting because, I almost thought he was, almost too positive for me in a sense. But when I realized he did have a list of things that he's gone through that were negative, I liked his insight on that. So rather than giving you a Ty Boyd generic tape, it really was important. I think some of the value of this tape, it was really just an interview, but I do want to make a couple points along the way. If you're in a home-based business like a multi-level marketing or affiliate program and you're reaching out to other people to sponsor them, wouldn't you agree that you probably should kind of target the material you share with somebody?
Oh, absolutely. We have an excellent physician-based CD right now that I think is the greatest thing since sliced bread. Primarily for the same reason, it speaks to the physician of today in language that they understand and in language that the patients understand. You know, I think people right now in the health field are looking for alternative therapies. They realize that, you know, the physicians nowadays, the medical care is great, but they're treating people after they get sick instead of emphasizing prevention, practices that will develop healthy habits. All of this is totally lacking right now. And so that people are seeking this information for themselves, and so this speaks to that, and it speaks well. And so, again, it's a tool, and we like to speak about tools way back in the early network marketing days, but even today with the internet, you still have to have some basic bullets in your gun.
So what I heard you just say is that traditional or conventional medicine has you know, treated either the symptoms with pharmacological things or whatever, but you're saying that doctors who create content explaining preventative medicine, whether it's diet and lifestyle, that those who are going to open up about what you can do to prevent disease is probably some valuable information right now in this at this time.
Absolutely. In this time, this day and age, a lot of people don't even have the ability to afford the cost of pharmacy, and so the ability to take natural products that are readily available without a prescription, I think, is an important aspect of overall general health. And so I think any physician needs to be able to offer that. I think anyone who's interested in health needs to be able to seek that out. I think anybody that's going to live a long life is going to do it by developing healthy habits.
Not taking pills from
Not-
the pharmacy.
Not taking pharmacy, not polypharmacy, no sir.
Can I ask where you went to med school?
Medical College of Wisconsin in Milwaukee.
And I've noticed there's not as much anymore, and I think you're seeing traditional doctors, there's a larger and larger percentage who is thinking like you are, preventative medicine and diet and lifestyle and exercise and things like that over a lifetime is by far superior than just letting people do whatever they want, abuse their body all their life, and then treat it with pills or triple bypass, that kind of thing at the end. Are you seeing a growing trend amongst conventional doctors?
Not as much as I'd like to see. There's no money in prevention.
Stop the tape, you're not allowed to say that.
There is no money in prevention.
Okay, so do you think that's actually controlling the education, or they just didn't know any better? You know what I mean? Like now pharmacies exploded, but when you were in school it was expensive, but it's not like it's exploded today.
No, but I think the allopathic physician pathway is still the same. You know, you've got a symptom complex and you come up with a diagnosis and you provide a treatment, whether that be medicine, pharmacy, or surgery. And that still exists today. And so that hasn't changed much. It hasn't changed much. And so I think the emphasis is still the same in the conventional practitioners. But I think you've got other people that are thinking, say, I think I can help. I think you've got chiropractic physicians, naturopaths, a wide range of health providers that are out of the mainstream that have things to offer. And the most important thing I think they provide is they make people think.
I wasn't expecting to go this way, but you brought up some things about how you got sponsored in network marketing.
Sure.
I want to talk about a couple things. Is there a high percentage of doctors today? You know, you got involved 20 years ago in
Right.
MLM. Do you think there's still an arrogance to doctors being approached by MLMers, or do you think that wall has reduced, or is there still that arrogance? You know, I'm a doctor, you're handing me what is this little rinky-dink home-based business? I mean,
I think less and less of that, because those who can't see the writing on the wall are myopic. What's going on with national health insurance and the different approaches being touted out there are, they're gonna find a way of reducing the doctor's income. And the doctors, if they want to maintain a lifestyle, we used to say a physician is someone who buys things he doesn't need to impress people with money he doesn't have. And I think that's gonna be more and more the case as time goes on. There just isn't gonna be the income for the average physician. And I think after looking at the cost of going to medical school, I think a lot of people are thinking twice about even going into it.
What does it cost now to go to med school? Like a couple $100,000?
At least.
At least.
At least.
And you already have, what at that point, a bachelor's?
Well, you have your college debt, and then you go on and get your debt from medical school, and only then do you start making any money at all. And it's
After a
it's
year of
burdensome.
internship or whatever they call
Well,
it.
you make money in internship,
But not much, right?
but it's a huge financial burden, and that's why I think the physicians who are not looking at alternate ways of increasing their bottom line are going to feel the pinch.
Mhm.
It's going to happen, whether it's sooner or whether it's later. It's going to happen, and if they can do something, either in the health field or something totally unrelated to medicine or health, I think their future will be more secure.
And doctors in general, the office, the part of managing an office, the billing, accounts receivable, all that.
Stress.
Well, you guys now, I've seen up to, in a small practice, up to 3 full-time people doing paperwork to get paid by, whatever the government, Medicare, or whatever,
Well, that's
insurance.
why a lot of people are selling their practices to hospitals. They don't want to deal with that anymore. They can't afford to deal with that anymore.
Mhm. So that's going to be, an expanding thing, and particularly what we've done in the last few years.
I was fortunate to sell my practice to an individual, and I think those days they're gone.
They're numbered,
gone.
yeah.
It's hospital-based medical systems, it's insurance-based medical systems, and the physician basically, and I hate to say this, and I hope people don't take it the wrong way, when I was 16, I worked for Briggs and Stratton Corporation, and I worked in the parts building, and my job was to supply the ladies working there with parts, and they were paid a rate we called piecework. The more they cranked it out, and so I had to fly around the building getting all the parts. The faster they put this widget together, put it in a box, and sent it on its way, the more they got paid. And I think a lot of what's going on today is people are kind of shaving the amount of time that they need to be with a patient and calling it a comprehensive visit when it isn't. I talked to a physician the other day who was seeing an ungodly number of patients in a day. I think he was seeing 100 patients in a day. Well,
Good Lord.
If that's an 8-hour day, that's less than 5 minutes a patient. And
That's terrifying.
well, it's terrifying, and you don't know the particulars of what kind of things he was doing, but those kinds of numbers are piecework, and I think somebody that doesn't realize that their income is truly based on piecework is fooling themselves. I hate to say it in those terms, but a lot of what is being done in office practice and the numbers of surgery, it's a glorified form of piecework.
Well, I think it's well said. And what's scary about that to me is when I listen to that story, I'm thinking about the patient, and I'm also thinking about the doctor's perspective. From the doctor's perspective, my God, if I went through all that schooling and training and accept all this responsibility for the health of my patients and babies and everything, to have to crank out, like you're saying, 100 clients a day. He's doing that because he, either is very ambitious or he's got to keep up his all his bills and his staff, and he feels the pressure. I mean, 100. Who would do that? Who would see 100 clients in a day?
Well, there are some people that just say they aren't going to do it anymore, and there are a lot of physicians that quit. My best friend up in Wisconsin spent oodles of time with me, with my family, my grandchildren, and he got a knock on the door one afternoon, and he was given his pink slip because he was taking too much time with his patients.
Oh God! Well, now that's my next thing. I said, I can see the physician side, but then the client side. You hear about doctors missing something really big. Well, obviously, if you've got 5 minutes, what kind of an exam can you do?
Well, you can't do a good one, okay? But, you can document that you had the exam.
Yeah, document it.
You can
More
document
money.
the exam. I got my piecework completed, the paperwork's done, send me the check. I'm pretty pessimistic about where medicine's going right now.
Mhm.
So, the fact that this very capable physician was spending too much time with his patients, so the hospital corporation gave him his pink slip, that sucks.
Now, do you think he'll go out on hang out his own shingle?
He's selling real estate right now.
Oh my God! All that talent. American.
He'll get back into medicine if he hasn't already, but, the hospitals tie up with their non-compete clauses and all of that.
Oh, so even with the pink slip, he had to honor a non-compete.
Right.
Oh, that's just evil.
Talk about stress, I want no part of that.
Yeah. Well, I don't blame you. Now, just for fun, a lot of our talk when we got to know each other was, I saw you walking across stage years ago. I wasn't part of your organization or something, so I just knew of you from afar. And then we reconnected years later because we went to a seminar like in Utah or Vegas, and
Right.
you were reading the bottom of a website, and you saw my name and somehow recognized it, and you called me. And a lot of me getting to know you more years later after I was acquainted with who you are, I keep getting surprised by this incredible lifestyle that you had created, which it sounds like you're saying that you were like some of the last of the batch of doctors who are going to truly have some of those benefits, unless they just come up with some niche that they can thrive financially right now. But the general industry of doctors are going to suffer, and they're not going to have the lifestyle. But some of the perks I've seen is, you told me today even that just sitting at home is like boring, so you're always on the go, so you're constantly traveling. You own multiple homes in multiple states. I'm not trying to, make you uncomfortable or anything, but you've had a nice.
I've had a good life.
Well, you also have an airplane.
And I've worked hard, and I've had some issues with airplanes recently, but anyway.
That's for another video.
That's another story. But, I've worked hard for what I have, and, when we were at the restaurant up in Hendersonville, I had I kind of had my apple cart turned over that particular day, and I think you saw a side of me that you hadn't seen before. The lifestyle's been good. Yes, I've had multiple homes, multiple cars, multiple airplanes. I've had stuff because I like stuff, and one of the pleasures I get are restoring old Porsches and restoring old airplanes, all of that stuff, and then I sell them and do it again. But that particular day, it wasn't about any of that stuff. It was a letter, an email from someone very dear to me who basically told me to stop doing network marketing.
Oh.
Remember?
Okay. Yeah.
And go back and get my license again and jump back into this horrible morass we've just been talking about. And I was pissed. I was very upset. And I think I had vented on you that night. Sorry about that.
No, I'm glad you did. Actually, I enjoyed that talk because a lot of times in the network marketing industry, or any industry that you're involved with recruitment, you kind of just dust the negative under the rug, and so we all feel it and experience it, but there's really not a platform, at least an acceptable platform, to talk about some of the negatives in the industry. I'm going to shift gears here. Well, actually, before I do that, I wanted to talk about how to sponsor a doctor, if we could, just briefly. I guess some of it's pretty obvious, but you had said that nobody had ever prospected you. Possibly they could have been intimidated, or they could have thought, this guy's so busy, it's just not going to be his bag, whatever the reason people didn't prospect you. Because I've been prospected before, and the more I get involved with network marketing, the more people think, oh, Glenn will do it because he's done it once before, and so I get all these opportunities daily, literally, that come to me, people trying to recruit me. But nobody ever tried to recruit you. But you said the tape was effective?
The tape was effective, and one of the networks that I'm in right now, I was recruited by a phrase from someone who had credibility to me. She was a banker, and she said, do you ever look at other ways of making money? And
All the time, right?
And I go, what day is it today? Of course. And I said, because that's a standard phrase, the curiosity approach. And I said, is this network marketing? And she was new, and she goes, yes, it is. And I went, well, great, tell me what you got, and I'll take a look at it. And so, if you're asking me how to sponsor a doctor, I gotta say, I don't know, I've never sponsored one.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
I guess just when I was in this MLM from 1989 full-time to 1999, I noticed that people that come at the beginning with credibility from their past, usually they excelled faster. It's not always true, but it's hard for me, if I am a janitor, to sponsor somebody in a higher trained position or something. And
Yes and no.
yes and no.
The young man who gave me the tape had no credibility in network marketing. In fact, I think as my sponsor, he quit in a month. Okay?
Wait, he got a doctor
He got a
in,
doctor in and he quit.
and you went on to make
Okay.
pretty good money with that, yeah.
I did fine.
And
And
then
then,
down in South, you expanded down in a big group in South America, and you still
Yeah.
fly down there to this
still
day.
go down there, not in my own plane, but
Yeah, that'd be quite over
It's,
the Gulf.
it's long friendships, and that's what networking is really about. It's about relationships. But to your point, how do you sponsor a doctor? The doctor's got to be looking.
Open, yeah.
Whether it's your banker that says, do you look at other ways of making money, or whether it's a young man that says, will you listen to a tape? I was looking both times. Both times I hit it. The ball was served up and I hit it.
So if I'm the guy thinking about contacting you, what should be my attitude, not knowing where you're at, and as I reach out to you and say you're not looking, what should my response be? Should I feel rejected, or just realize that I'm just looking for people that are looking and don't worry about it? Or
Well, you need to have spent some time developing some skills. I think if you don't have any skills and you don't practice those skills, you aren't going to say the right thing at the right time. So you have to be in a state of preparedness, okay? Are you going to feel rejected? Sure. That's part of the game, if you take it personally, if you realize it's part of the business. All you're doing is offering people an opportunity. It's their choice to say yes or no. It doesn't have anything to do with you unless you haven't learned the skills, practiced, and do a presentable job.
mm-hmm.
That falls on you. But what's going on in their life has nothing to do with you.
And I'm trying to think of, so regardless of the profession, if they used to call it, for lack of a better term, sponsor at your level and above. And I think what they mean is they're not trying to say that some people have less value than others, but when people spend a lot of time in education, they work hard in their career, they have good incomes, lots of responsibility. The person who's, chosen manual labor, the natural tendency is to be intimidated. And even they can sponsor. I mean, I just got sponsored in something the other day, and I'm already having great success in an affiliate program that does internet marketing training. And my sponsor had never sponsored anybody. As a matter of fact, she
There you
only
go.
gets bonused if she has purchased what she's selling. Well, she had purchased this $25 level thing, but we came in at closer to $1,000. So because she had never had enough confidence or enough money or whatever, all that commission went right through her. So then we were going to purchase another $1,000, and this time, having a heart for her, I called her and let her know. And doggone it, she and her husband
Found the money.
found the money for the $1,000. The next day, I bought the $1,000, so she's going to get the $1,000 to pay for the $1,000 of training. You know, it's quick, and it just makes me feel good. And here's what she did. She didn't try to be a big shot with me, but we were talking about some other company that was having some issues, and I said, well, the reason I've kind of backed off on that one, and you're aware of what I'm talking about, it's not because I'm not hopeful that one day it's going to do something big, but at the current time, they were just kind of, you know, at a standstill. They haven't opened the doors yet, so I had to do something where I could immediately apply myself. So I chose this affiliate program with internet marketing training, and I was actively shopping for a sponsor. Well, she called me about this other company that was kind of laying dormant. They haven't opened yet, and just had some questions. So she was cross-lined to me, but I had answered a previous question. She found me on the internet because I try to get out there and spread the love.
Kind of like me.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great way to meet like-minded people, and you know, just go ahead and put it out there and let those who are like-minded find you, and then we connect like this. But I told her up front, look, you know, I'm probably not going to get in with you because I'm sponsor shopping, but if you would give me the phone number to your leader, and she kind of rumbled through some papers, I don't know where it is, if I find it I'll tell you. And we talked another 10 minutes, she goes, oh, here it is. Well, it's 12:30 at night, my time, and I called this guy at home. I'm on the East Coast, he's on the West Coast, so he was still awake, and we stayed on that phone till 4:30 a.m. my time, so from 12:30 a.m. midnight to 4:30, and he's not the kind of guy that likes to spend a lot of time on the phone. He likes to recruit using, you know, internet marketing and let
Right.
his system, but he got me in because he answered everything just the way I wanted it said, and I realized he had the heart and the intellect and the work ethic to be a great leader. So this total, you know, beginner was able to sponsor me.
You see what she did though? She knew that she was not the person that could sponsor you. She knew she had to be a connector. And that's the clue that I would leave, you know, somebody that's new or somebody that doesn't think they have the credibility. Their job is to get to be a good connector. And that's what she did. She got you with the right person. Fortunately, she found the number and the name. But, you know, that's what the new person has to realize. They have to be a good connector.
That's a good point. I've also seen people that come into internet marketing and they go to these courses and say, you got to create a product. They're going, I don't know anything. Why am I even at this?
Right.
And a couple of people said, well, I don't know anything, but they realized these speakers on stage knew a lot. And they came up with the idea and just approached it with the most confidence they could. And they got a couple of those speakers to agree to doing interviews and letting them ask questions, kind of like we're doing here. You know, I've never been a doctor, but here I'm able to associate with a doctor. That makes me look good. I have friends that are doctors.
I have friends that are SEO experts.
But they actually, a few of these guys that I heard about were able to, a few of these guys were able to produce products that sold really well because they had the thought, look, I don't know anything, but I can just interview these guys and put it all in a compilation and sell it and give each of these gurus a percentage of the profit. I think they gave 90% back, but he took his 10%, and he noticed that it immediately lifted him up to the level of these other guys, even though he really didn't have the education, but he had, you know, he had the good sense to do that. I thought it was brilliant. And so what you're saying is, if you don't have the skills look up line for somebody that might be a better fit in talking to them and just be like
Absolutely.
the connector. Yeah, I think that's brilliant. I know a guy that does that all the time, a guy named David that's just amazing at it. I kind of went blank as to, is there anything where you'd like to take this here at the end? Otherwise, I wanted to shift gears and go specific about a specific company, which we may be doing in the next video, but anything you want to add to
No, I think
what we've talked about?
We've covered the highlights. I think you have to be prepared. to have some negative in your world. Everybody's got it. It's not all, despite outward appearances, it's not all positive. And there are lots of negative things that happen to lots of people that you never know about. And the good ones don't bother telling you about it, except when they ply you with alcohol at a really good restaurant.
Truth serum. It's like social sodium pentothal.
Sodium pentothal in a bottle, yeah.
Well,
But,
you just
you
hit
know.
on something I wanted to ask you about,
Sure.
because I've seen you go through a lot of adversity, and I get amazed. You know, I don't feel like you're like the sales type, but yet you're in an industry that seems to.
Sales based.
Yeah, but I mean, sales could hurt you if you're just like, I don't even know where to go with that. But just because you're the sales type doesn't mean you're going to be successful at MLM. But at the same time, a certain amount of boldness and confidence in yourself is very valuable. And what I'm curious about, when it gets tough for you, and maybe people get in and quit before they've even got started, or you get criticism for family and friends, oh, you're this great doctor, what are you doing with, MLM, and you get ridicule and stuff. What is your mind thought? Because I've been very amazed at how you persevere. Even when the future might look bleak to some people in your position, you keep going forward. How do you do that?
Well, I think it all boils down to what we learned in the first company. You have to have a dream, and you have to commit to it. I've had a dream since 1993 that I was going to achieve, and I've never wavered from that dream in the last 20 years. I haven't achieved it, but I'm making progress towards it, and that's all that counts for me. And if you get knocked off, you just get, as the song says, dust yourself off, start all over again. I've done that numerous times. It doesn't bother me that people don't see what I see. The important thing is that I see what I see, and as long as I do, I'm moving in the direction of my dream.
Well, I've greatly admired Don for how he handles adversity. It's been quite an inspiration to me. So hey, listen,
Thanks.
we've
Glenn.
been wanting to do this
Nicely
for a
done.
while.
Yeah, I'm glad we did.
Yeah, we've talked about getting together, and we live in 2 different states, but we finally hooked up. He just drove an hour and 45 minutes down. He's up in Casters, North Carolina. I'm down here in the flat country in South Carolina, and he drove down for the afternoon. Well, anyway, I enjoyed it, and
Thank you.
stay tuned to the next video. We're going to talk about some specific companies that Don has been involved with and is involved with right now, and learn some more.